There is a brand new In Search of Darkness documentary, In Search of Darkness 1990 to 1994. It is brilliant, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. I was really lucky to have a copy of it sent across for an early sneak peek, and I just wanted to share a little bit more about it. If you are curious and you're a fan of the previous In Search of Darkness movies, like I definitely am, there's a link in my bio you can click through, and that is the link to the digital download for the film. It is brilliant. I watched it in one big go yesterday. Each In Search of Darkness installment has got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I love that. This one is 6 hours, which I sat down yesterday all cozy under my blankie with some Pepsi and some coffee and just binged all these amazing 90s movies. I've watched all of the other documentaries and I really, really love them. They're just brilliantly produced, and there's just so many people on there that I just love to hear from. All of the guests on this documentary are fascinating. I love hearing everyone sharing their stories about working on films or their experience watching them. Some of my absolute standouts of the cast were David Dastmalchian, Robert Kurtzman, Heather Langenkamp. Shout out to my fellow Welshie Stephen Folk. It was really exciting to see him on there. Frank Henenlotter and Brian Usner. I could listen to both of those talk all day. Mick Garris. And what was really exciting about watching this one is I love the care and effort put into the documentary and the nostalgia that comes with it. But this was the first one that I've been alive for. Well, not alive. I was alive for the 80s. But it's the first one I remember. Like, the nostalgia in this one was fantastic. There were things I got really excited when they got brought up, like talking about video stores and going to rent videos. I remember doing that in the early 90s. They showed this really lovely copy of Frankenhooker on VHS that talks when you press the button, and I was just so excited by seeing that. And they were talking about Buffy and Goosebumps books and all these other things that I remember. So that just made me feel even more invested in this release. Just that level of nostalgia for the 90s made me enjoy this one even more than the previous ones. I remember some of the stuff they were talking about, which is lovely. So I'm really, really excited for the other installments of the 90s movies, because the further we go in, the more I'll remember. And some of the movies I'm going to remember being released. I wouldn't have seen them, but I'm going to remember them being released. So I'm really excited for the future ones. As always, I love to use In Search of Darkness as a list of movies to go through. And with the previous 80s releases, I've gone and sought out some of these movies, and they've been fantastic, and I hadn't heard of them before. Some of the standouts I can think of is Pieces. I loved that. Fade to Black. I'd never heard of Fade to Black before, and I absolutely loved that. So this has given me more movies that I have to check out. I'm going to watch all of them, but some of the standouts that I've listed are Freaked. Never heard of Freaked. Freaked looks amazing. Popcorn is another one that I've seen the poster for, and they talk about the poster art in the documentary. I've seen the poster, I've never got around to watching it. It looks brilliant. Shram. I've never heard of Shram. I've seen Necromantic. I've not seen Necromantic 2. There's some really interesting stories from the director of Necromantic 1, 2 and Shram. I never knew he was arrested for indecency for Necromantic 2. And Shram looks like another really weird little movie that I absolutely need to see. And another one that I really need to see is Meridian, Kiss of the Beast. It looks so bizarre. I've never heard of that one before. It looks really beautiful. The cast looks amazing. So that's just absolutely one I need to watch. I'd seen loads of the movies, which I was really proud of myself for, because I'm really bad at going back and watching movies. I'd seen loads of them, so I was really pleased to hear them discussed a little bit more. But I was most excited about two of my favourites ever. Silence of the Lambs was included, which if it hadn't been, Ructions. And Ghostwatch. Two of my absolute favourites ever, regardless of decade, but my absolute favourite 90s films. They're just brilliant. So hearing other people talk about how much they love both of those was just lovely. And I mentioned Stephen Volk. Stephen Volk talks about Ghostwatch and the history of Ghostwatch, and beautiful. Loved it. There were some really nice surprises as well, because like I said, I remember a lot more of the 90s horror, and there were some really nice inclusions in this that if you'd asked me what movies from the early 90s would be included, would never have suggested these, but they were really welcome nice inclusions. Delicatessen, which I remember seeing probably early 2000s. Firewalk with Me, the Twin Peaks movie, absolutely belongs in a 90s horror documentary. I just didn't expect to see it there, so I'm super, super pleased it was. Hocus Pocus, I think a gateway horror for loads of us. I was obsessed with Hocus Pocus when I was a kid. I didn't see it when it first came out, but a few years later, obsessed. I had it on video. So that was lovely to hear people talk about that and see Uncle Mick Garris talk about his experience with writing the original script. And Natural Born Killers. I remember watching that film probably mid-2000s, not particularly thinking of it as a horror movie, but its inclusion in this documentary was really interesting. And it's another one that I need to go back and revisit because it's been such a long time since I've seen it. And to reappraise it with that sort of horror lens, I think that'll be really interesting. So I can't recommend this new edition of In Search of Darkness more. Like I said, there's a link in my bio. If you give that a click, that'll take you through to the digital download. It has the digital copy of the film. There's also a copy of the score and the soundtrack and a PDF mini digital booklet as well, which is really, really lovely. It's a really nice little bundle. It's $29.99, which I think is brilliant for 6 hours of content and bonus stuff as well. Thank you so much to In Search of Darkness for sending me through a screener. I absolutely loved every second of the 6 hours. It didn't feel like a slog at all to watch. And like the other ones, I always give it a proper watch through first, take everything in, and then they're really great movies to pop on in the background when you're doing stuff. And that's not to diminish the content at all. It's just really nice to have those familiar and nice voices in the background like Mick Garris, people we like to listen to talk about horror, but then whilst it's on in the background you go, oh yeah, I still haven't seen Popcorn, and then I add that to the top of my list. So they're really great like background things as well, and I'll find myself stopping whatever I'm doing and like getting sucked back in and listening to the things. So huge recommendation. It's got rewatchability, absolutely. I've watched the others countless times, so this one's gonna have a revisit as well. Huge recommendation. Again, thank you so much to In Search of Darkness for sending me through a screener. Thank you for sending me through a little special link as well. And thank you anyone who picks it up. Let me know if you watch it. What are your favourite 90s, well, early 90s horrors? Drop a comment and let me know. I'd love to talk about 90s horror with you because I can remember the 90s. Hooray!